Hello, students. I am Dr. Bashab Datta, Assistant Professor, Department of Biochemistry. First of all, I would like to welcome you all to the Department of Biochemistry. This is your first lecture class. It is a very unusual way in which we are starting the classes this year, but we really don't have any option. So, for the time being, we will be very happy if you can kindly cooperate with us. Now, the topic of today's class is ATCOM. The topics which we are going to be covered today in this class are: what is ATCOM? What are the components of ATCOM? The significance of each component? And how are we going to implement ATCOM in our clinical practice? Now, to begin with, what is ATCOM? Now, as you can see, ATCOM as a word, it is not a simple word. It does not mean anything directly. So, what is it? It is a short form of something. So, ATCOM, it is a short form of attitude, ethics, and communication. Now, as you can see, the thing ATCOM, it has been introduced recently in your curriculum. It is a new part of your curriculum which has been introduced since 2019. But if you think of it separately, ATCOM is something which we all know. We are all familiar with this. It is a part of each of and everyone's personality. But what you are going to learn in your MBBS, along with other things, it is that ATCOM is an essential part of our professional development, and it is very important that we implement this ATCOM in our day-to-day clinical practice. Because when we see patients, when we treat them, when we want them to develop a faith on us, ATCOM play as your clinical skills and your aptitude, these are very important. ATCOM also is a very important part. Okay. Now, recently, you know that there has been a change in the curriculum, and according to the new curriculum, the aim of the new curriculum is to create what we call an IMG. Now, what do you mean by IMG? IMG stands for Indian Medical Graduate, and it has been said that this Indian medical graduate should be the doctor of first contact of community while being globally relevant. Certain qualities have been defined for the IMG. So once you finish your 4.5 years training, then an IMG should be a good clinician, a leader, a communicator, a lifelong learner, and a professional. So this is what we are commonly now calling C2L2P, and each of these qualities is very, very important. You have to be a good clinician, a leader, a communicator, a lifelong learner, and a professional. Each of these is very, very essential in your professional development. So, as you will see, that when you want to learn all of this, when you want to develop in all of these, ATCOM is essential for all of these. All of these require ATCOM. Why is it important? Now, recently, you have seen that it is the area, it is now today is the era of increased dissatisfaction among the patients. Often, patients complain that we have not been treated well, and this and that, and they are not satisfied. But most often, it has been seen that the doctors they are giving their best efforts, but still, maybe the patients are dissatisfied, and numerous unforetold incidents have been happening. So, better communication is essential. Often it happens that we are giving our best, but still the patients are dissatisfied. They have certain unanswered questions. So, if we communicate better with them, then many incidents and circumstances can be avoided. Improved ATCOM may help by bridging the gap between doctors and patients and their family. If we communicate properly with the patients and their family, then it will help to bridge the gap between the doctors and them, and they will be more happy and satisfied with what they are receiving. This is why it has been included in the curriculum as an essential part. Okay, and you will be what we are talking about ATCOM today. It is just a brief introduction, but you as you go through your lessons, as you go throughout your semesters, you will be learning about the different aspects of ATCOM, and it is very important that simultaneously you should learn how to implement all of these principles. Now, going through them one by one. First is attitude. Now, what do we mean by attitude? Attitude is a settled way of thinking or feeling about something. So, somewhat it is prefixed. The attitude object can be a person, a place, a thing, an ideology, or an event. So, what do I mean like this? I like this person, I do not like this person. I like this place, I do not like this place. I have an attitude towards that. So, this attitude, it can be either positive or negative. It is not necessary that always I have a negative attitude. I might have a positive attitude also, that I like this, I like that, I like that person, I like this place. Now, as I just gave you a very simple example, though this is not medically relevant, but just I don't like a man with beards, which implies I have a negative attitude towards them. Now, if I say I don't like men who have beards, there is no justification behind that. I should not think in that way that okay, a man has a beard so that he is not a nice person. But no, I should not have this type of attitude. I should be approaching all of my patients with a neutral attitude or a positive thing towards them. It has been seen that whatever beliefs we have, the beliefs lead to the development of values, and beliefs are inherent. Sometimes they grow throughout time within us, and this leads to the development of values. So values also they vary individually. Values in turn lead to the development of attitude, and attitude is expressed as our behavior. So, if I have positive attitude towards something, it is expressed as a positive behavior. If I have a negative attitude towards something, it has a negative behavior. Other than this, the attitude it is not only positive or negative. Attitude is something which is carried in our body language. Like we should have a proper attitude. We should have a proper approach to something. Suppose when you are speaking with something, then greeting him, giving him respect, like maintaining your proper body language. This also comes as attitude. So it is somewhat a vague term, and if you think of it in the other way, attitude, ethics, and communication, these are not separate entities. There's a lot of overlap between them. Overall, we have to develop it as a whole. Now, so, attitude is something which is internal, and behavior is external. But our attitude determines our behavior. So, a person's attitude towards something determines his behavior towards it. Hence, changing a person's attitude can change his or her behavior. So, as we learn, as we develop professionally, it is very important that we develop our attitudes as well. How we approach, how we go things through things, how we behave with people, the body language we maintain. This is our attitude. The cognitive components of attitudes are fundamental and constant over time, which are more closely connected to the basic values. So, whatever basic values we have, these in turn lead to the development of our attitudes. And behavioral attitudes are manifestations of underlying cognitive and affective attitudes. Again, as we said, our attitude determines our behavior. If we can change our attitude, then automatically our behavior will change. Developing a proper attitude towards our profession and the patients determines the way which we deal with our patients. So, in the end of the day, you are all going to become doctors and you are going to deal with patients. So, you have to develop your attitude properly, and that will help you deal with your patients and also with your colleagues. Next, coming to ethics. Now, ethics is the moral principles that govern a person's behavior or the conducting of an activity. So, ethics basically deals with the moral aspect of everything. It deals with the moral aspect of our attitude and behavior. And ethical dimensions play a crucial role in behavioral evolution. See, whatever you are doing, whenever you are doing it, you always think I am doing what I feel it is right. And what you feel is right or wrong, that depends on your ethics. You may do something which someone else might not do. Maybe he thinks it is ethically wrong, you think it is ethically right, but whatever it is, you are always justifying yourself in that way. So, how, whatever your ethics are, that in turn again determines your behavior. So, if you just think about the basic question in ethics, so you ask yourself, am I doing the right thing? If we think of it in the clinical scenario, am I doing what is the best for the patient? Am I protecting the basic rights of the patient? So, if I just give you a simple example, suppose a patient, he is being prescribed unnecessary medications. That is unnecessary long. That is wrong ethically. Suppose he does not require that medication. Maybe giving that medication will do him no harm, but he does not need it. So if I give it to him, then he will have to spend more money. So that might be a benefit for me because I may have some hidden interest in that. But that is not wrong. That is not right. That is ethically wrong. Am I protecting the basic rights of the patient? I should not be interfering in the fundamental rights of the patient. He should be given options to decide. He has to be given the options to participate in his decisions. So ethics, again, it is a very important of your part of your personality development. Whenever you are doing something, whatever you are doing, you have to see whether you are doing the right thing. Now you will be medical ethics itself is a separate topic, and you will be learning this as you go through your semesters. So different aspects of ethics you will be dealing in different semesters, and you will be learning it. Some things you already know, some things you don't know, but you should be giving very much importance to ethics because it is very important nowadays. Ethics is always very important. Next, communication. Communication, we all know that communication is very important, not only in our medical profession, but in our personal life also. If you communicate well with people, things become much more easier. It is a fundamental prerequisite in the medical profession. All doctors should demonstrate the ability to communicate with patients in a respectful, non threatening, non judgmental, and empathetic manner. Now, each of these points are very important. We should respect the patient. After all, he or she, they are human beings. We should respect them. Non threatening. The patient should not feel threatened in my presence. He should not think that if I do not listen to the doctor, he will be very angry or all that. He should not feel threatened. Non judgmental. If a patient comes to me with a problem, I should not be judgmental of him. Oh, he has this problem. Oh, he has this. He should not have been doing this. I should be non judgmental because I'm the doctor and I'm supposed to treat him, whatever his problem is. Empathetic. You know, there is a difference between sympathy and empathy. Nobody requires sympathy, but empathy is good. That feeling the pain of the patient. The basic building block of good communication is the feeling that every human being is unique and of value. So once you feel you give respect to that person and you feel that he is a part of your family, your communication should also develop. You should also respect him. I will be giving certain examples of good communication. The ability to communicate adequately, sensitively, effectively, and respectfully with patients in a language that the patient understands and in a manner that will improve patient satisfaction and healthcare outcomes. Ability to establish professional relationships with patients and families that are positive, understanding, humane, ethical, and empathetic. So, here, very important patients and families. A family is also comes with the patient. If somebody is not well, his family suffers equally that much. So, we have to communicate properly with the patients and their family, and we should be understanding, positive, humane, ethical, and empathetic. Ability to communicate with patients in a manner respectful of the patient's preferences, values, prior experience, beliefs, confidentiality, and privacy. See, every person has individual beliefs and maybe certain values. So we should respect them. Suppose a patient has a particular inhibition with doing something on a particular day. If avoidable, then we should cooperate with that particular person. Confidentiality. It is very important. We should always respect a patient's confidentiality. We should not be disclosing any information about the patient to some other person. Ability to communicate with patients, colleagues, and families in a manner that encourages participation and shared decision making. Now, here another very important point is communication with colleagues as well. See, we will be working as a team. So, to work effectively as a part of a team, we should communicate well with our colleagues. If we do not communicate properly, then the team will not be able to perform well. Now we have had a briefer introduction about ATCOM. So ATCOM is not limited to this; it is much more extensive. So, but since this is the beginning of the course, it was just a brief introduction. The details you will be going through as you go through the various modules. Okay. Now, since we are talking about biochemistry here, I'll just be giving you a brief introduction and certain examples about ATCOM module in the clinical biochemistry lab. Now, clinical biochemistry department is the department where we do various investigations on body fluids like blood, urine, cerebrospinal fluid. So, this involves taking patients from the a sample from the patient, performing tests on that sample, and then getting back to the patient with the reports. So, we have a lot of contact with the patients here. ATCOM module is equally important in the clinical biochemistry lab or any lab setting. So, maintenance of proper ATCOM is essential in any lab setting, whether it be biochemistry, microbiology, or pathology. The certain examples of ATCOM in the biochemistry lab include the following: having a positive, supportive, and respectful attitude towards the patient, which should be reflected in the doctor's approach and behavior. Communication with the patient in a cordial and respectful manner and in a language the patient is comfortable with. Suppose you communicate with him very well, you have given him respect, you are empathetic, you are cordial, but you speak to him in English and the patient doesn't understand English, then there is no point. So you have to see what the patient is comfortable in, preferably with the vernacular language of the patient, if possible. Being respectful of the patient's beliefs and preferences. We have to give importance to that what he believes and what preferences he has. Informing the patient about the procedure before drawing blood and taking his or her consent. So we are going to prick the patient with a needle and take his blood sample. So just we cannot just directly jab him in. We have to tell him that this is what we are going to do. And we have to take an informal consent that I'm going to take blood from you. Explaining properly to the patient any preparation required for any investigation. For example, fasting blood sugar, lipid profile, these have to be done in the fasting state. So the patient has to be informed the previous day that when you come for the investigation, you have to come with 10 hours of fasting or 12 hours fasting, whatever it is. And if the patient has any doubts, then we should clarify it properly. Respecting the privacy of the patient. In case of a female patient, making sure that a female attendant is present. Instructing the patient clearly about where and when to collect the report. We also have to hand over the report to the patient. Some reports take 24 hours, some take 2 days, some reports may take a week. But according to whatever is our protocol, we have to inform the patient when the report will be ready. So accordingly, he can come. Now, these are just some brief examples about ATCOM. As I said earlier, that you will be learning about it more in detail as you go through your course. So, as for now, this is just a brief introduction, and later we will be covering the other aspects. Thank you very much.